I'm in love with my best friend. Posted on March 12, 2018. I'm from Sweden living in London. I met my soon-to-be best friend from Brazil here at university. We're in the same class and are more or less inseparable. We have an insane chemistry, like a couple who's been together for 20 years. I realized a few months back that I had gotten feelings for her, and it keeps getting worse. Often we have moments where it feels mutual, where we might be relaxing in bed watching a series and getting real close. It kills me that I can't show her exactly how I love her, knowing that she is extremely lonely, just like me. Without screwing everything up, what do I do? Update on January 14, 2020. 2 years ago, I made a post that I was in love with my best friend. I was encouraged to do the dangerous thing and talk to her. We had a very honest conversation and she was very sweet about it, and admitted that we did have something between us, but we remained friends, with not speaking for a little while to begin with. As the months went by, we both started seeing other people, although I was still very much in love with her. Eventually both of us realized that we didn't want other people but only each other, and a short time after that we got together. We have now been dating for 10 months and we are both extremely happy and are very much in love. Just wanted to make an appreciation post for the ones who made me talk to her, and to anyone who is in a similar situation as I was, it actually is possible. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this kind of feedback. Thanks to everyone for all amazing responses, and thanks for Silver. I think I have found my brother who ran away from home 9 years ago, and we never found him, and I don't know how to approach him in case it's not him. Post on July 8, 2023. Little background: my younger brother ran away from home when I was 14. Apparently my mother beat him very hard and much and told him to go away, and he's not her child anymore after he broke a new TV while playing football in the house. She says she didn't mean it and was just disciplining him, and said that in the heat of the moment. My brother was always one of those troublesome kids, carefree, little too much adventurous, but he had a good heart and I loved him very much. At first we thought he would just come back, then hours went by, we started to get worried. After a day with him coming back, he started to search for him. We asked around, called the cops and filled a missing person report. We searched for him for a long time and never found him. His disappearance tore my family apart. My dad blamed my mom and they divorced shortly after my 15th birthday. The relationship between my grandparents and my mom deteriorated. Fast forward to about a month ago, I got a job as an intern at a logistic company in my country. I am as an assistant as a driver dispatcher. One of the drivers' name caught my attention a week ago. It was exactly the same as my brother's. The driver came back about 3 days ago from his shipment and I have been kind of observing him. And he kind of looks like my brother. He resembles my dad. And I don't know if I am the one who's making these observations because I want to, or the resemblance is actually there. Now I have been sleepless for days wondering if I should approach him. What if it's not him? I am a shy person and not really good with people. Will he think I am crazy? Should I at least do some more homework before I approaching him? And what if it's him? Should I tell my parents? Just to clarify, I was still at school when it happened and my dad was still at work. That's when we came home to find him gone. Update on July 14, 2023. Edit. For some reason I can't be able to post the link to my previous post. But you might try checking my profile. So some of you wanted an update and here it is. So I approached him a day after the post using some of the ways you suggested. And it went better than I had anticipated. He recognized me even before I could tell him everything I had rehearsed. Apparently, he had looked me up online, and since have little going on any social media except for lurking on Twitter and Reddit, he could hardly find anything concrete. So the only pictures of me she could find were from my best friend's Instagram post a couple of months ago. And he knew here and were kind of friends. I asked why he didn't reach out and well, he said that he was afraid that I was mad at him and will never forgive him for running away and leaving me. I was completely taken back by that cause I never saw that way. I was a bit mad having me worried about him for years, but finding him alive and well is the completely dwarfs any anger, sad, disappointed I had. And those who may wonder what happened after he left home, it's not been easy for him. Being homeless, abusing drugs, dealing drugs, serving jail time a couple of times, depression, suicidal thoughts, but it all worked for him when an old family and charity program found him at 16 and helped him out. He didn't want to come back, but was forced to deal drugs. It's a common in my country where young kids, either orphans or abducted, are forced to sell drugs. Well, we have been hanging out a lot. There have been a lot of tears, catching up to do. He asking about my dad, because he had tried to look for him too, but he left the country a few years back with his new wife and kids, but he is not ready to face just yet. For my mom said he forgave her, but he just want to see her yet. I am glad I met my family. Thanks to all of you who gave me advice. Sorry for any typo. I am typing from my phone.
My abusive boss was fired after I complained about her. What do I say to coworker? Posted on January 16, 2020. Earlier this year, I took a dream job that quickly proved to be a nightmare. My manager, Hedra, has a track record of abusing and driving out her reports. From the start, she didn't even bother to hide her dislike for me. She set shifting, arbitrary goals and put up barriers to information and relationships, made comments about my race and weight, and constantly did intentionally cruel, belittling things like assign me menial physical tasks and talk about me in the third person in my presence. I took the usual measures, including going up the chain and consulting a lawyer, but nothing worked. My physical and mental health suffered quite a bit and I finally hit a wall, so even though I hated having to do it, I fought. I filed a formal complaint, using evidence stockpiled over months. A few days after HR found in my favor, there was a shock announcement that Hedra was leaving the company, ostensibly due to burnout. I am pretty certain the resignation is a disguised termination in the wake of the HR investigation. I know that this conclusion is shared by at least a few other people in my department who were close to the situation. It's possible that some people think I got Hedra fired. I know from reading Ask a Manager that this isn't the way terminations work, but human nature. What do I say when I'm asked about Hedra's departure? I can't bring myself to agree when I'm condoled by someone with no idea what Hedra is like inside her team. Worse, some people have speculated that the department manager's style causes burnout in a positive person like Heidi. Hedra is very manipulative and has a lot of people fooled. Obviously I can't shout positive, she ran you all down behind your backs. And what do I tell coworkers who were helping me professionally and emotionally during the ordeal? On one hand, I think this case speaks pretty well for our HR and I'd like to obliquely acknowledge that a formal process actually works. But I assume the fact of a harassment investigation stays confidential even after the harasser leaves. There's a lot out there about how to respond to being harassed at work, but nothing about dealing honestly, professionally, and gracefully with a positive outcome. I take no pleasure in Hedra losing her job. Maybe I'm just numb, so I'd really appreciate it if we could skip the high fives in the comments section. Update 1, December 23, 2020. It's been over 6 months since Hedra suddenly quit. There's no dramatic news in this long letter, but I am doing much better and you helped make that happen. 1. Some commenters anticipated this, but there wasn't as much curiosity as I feared. I later learned that Hedra's boss, Jared, told his directs something to the effect of a bad thing happened to Allie, so be nice, and no, I can't tell you what. 2. Jared is not a good grand boss. I met with him long before going to HR. Within moments he called me infantile and in need of fixing, saying he'd heard an earful from Hedra. For context, I'm old enough to have college-age kids and was considered high value in previous roles. A week later, he put me on PIP with an absurd condition. 3. Hedra wasn't as bad as I thought, she was much worse. The actions she punished me for, like reaching out to internal SMEs, turned out to be essential to my role, so I think it was sabotage. I've also realized that Hedra was a bit of a BS artist who was missing a lot of the required knowledge and skills. I noticed some of those big gaps early on, but didn't realize what they meant, and yes, her previous reports complained on their way out, so she and Jared had multiple chances to fix her behavior. 4. It's not just me, Jared's department has culture and performance issues. The home office has sent in a strong people manager, Cecil, under Jared. I was reporting to Jared but now report to Cecil, post Hedra. HR was supposed to move me away from Jared but this didn't happen. I don't know why. 5. I've learned that recovering from workplace PTSD is like escaping from Shawshank. You need time and pressure. At first, I had to push constantly at the PTSD telling me, if you do this bad things will happen just like before. It's too late to catch up anyway, you're well and truly FED here. Dozens of times a day, I'd tell myself, I'm going to take a moment to feel what I feel, then do what the job needs me to do. Slowly, my brain learned that I could talk to anyone, make decisions and small mistakes, crack jokes, and attract positive feedback without being hammered by ugly insults and threats. When Cecil arrived, he saw me as valuable rather than trouble and was kind about my skittishness. That's helped a lot. But months later, I still need to talk myself off the ledge at times. I remind myself this is normal. After all, I was on a greased rail to being terminated with bad reference, and I have 3 people relying on my income. Going to work every day just to be blocked and humiliated all day, knowing she was just waiting out the clock, it was hell. So I remind myself it's okay to not be 100% okay. 6. But I am doing better. I blew past the targets Hedra missed, and also shared a very visible award for a collaboration. And best of all, I've been told by people in other departments that I am great to work with, and lower-ranking employees in my department say that they appreciate how approachable I am. That's why, for now, my place is here. I can help make the products better, and I can make this workplace better. Update to the update. Well, you must be magic. This time, it's Jared. He was likely sacked because his reason for quitting is ridiculous. They announced it internally a few hours after I emailed you. It's uncanny. I know there are perfectly rational explanations, but you've also brought good luck to a lot of people. Update to April 21, 2022. I am thrilled to report that I'm now considered the go-to person for the department and was promoted. Thank you and your commenters for the advice and good magic. A lot has happened since my last update. Cecil, the reformist department head, has cleaned house. So the rest of the toxic people are gone and most of the enablers are also gone. Hardly anyone even remembers Hedra. And Cecil had 90% of these roles filled within 2 months because he enjoys a good reputation. At one point, he asked me to consider taking Hedra's old role. As one commenter jokingly predicted, I was briefly tempted by thought of karma baby but turned it down for 2 reasons. I'd outgrown that subject matter, and I also felt it would set back my recovery. It was the right choice, and I'm happy to have been promoted to lead in a more challenging area. In terms of how I talk about that time in my career, I split the difference. I disclosed that I survived workplace bullying when and only when I think the information would help new managers understand the lingering culture issues, or that it would give clarity to other employees in bad situations. When I do talk, I force myself to be brief, matter-of-fact, and forward-looking. I don't have to do the first anymore because of the turnover. In terms of the second, I was able to help one colleague from a different team file a claim and get support from their grand boss and nudged another out of burning the bridge. I'm not at a point where I can thank Hedra, but my experience with her gives me credibility. When I say that the HR process is worth going through, people tend to listen. If anyone is reading this from the depth of a toxic team, I want to assure you that leaving is not the only option. It's hard, but you can fight. It's uncertain, but you can win. Judge it case by case. And don't feel stupid for wanting to keep your job. Hedra forced me in front of others to recite her instructions back to her like a child. She withheld access permissions for tools I needed, set impossible goals that made me sound bananas when I asked teams to collaborate on them. She made me serve food, and even groom her one time. We work in tech. She was mean as a snake and so sure she'd get away with everything. And God, did I want to run. But I knew that I'd feel cheated if I left. And where I work, short stints invite bad scrutiny. Another manager who was my confidant told me, remember that you work for company, not Hedra. I decided a job at this company was worth fighting for, and what's happened since validates the distinction. One more thing. It looks like when I successfully negotiated my salary, I inadvertently outearned Hedra. Something to think about if you take a position under a long-tenured underperforming manager and she seems to hate you from day one. Update 3, June 22, 2023. I first wrote you in December 2019 about how to deal with the aftermath of blowing the whistle on a serially abusive manager, Hedra, who suddenly resigned after HR found in my favor. Shortly after my first update, Hedra's enabling boss, Jared, he who swore and shouted, also resigned. His successor Cecil then began legally, compassionately, and efficiently cleaning house. I've now been promoted twice in a company where that's unusual, resulting in significant salary bump. Even happier news is, I successfully fought for my team to hire a quiet overachiever Kaya. I recruited away from a much smaller role in another department. She's as great as I hoped and has just been promoted. Another previously overlooked colleague, Lindsay, moved to our team and was promoted too. This means our team is being noticed as a place where women can be themselves and still thrive. We're in tech. This rep has been a well-deserved feather in the cap for our manager Owen, who has taught me loads and has been so patient when I occasionally experience episodes of PTSD, and Grand Boss Cecil. On the note of mental health, it took me a long time and the help of a book called Forgive for Good. But I have forgiven the one remaining employee, Amy, who directly participated in harassing me. She was Hedra's other report and is still here. Like most follower types, Amy is currently harmless under good managers. I pushed myself to be collaborative and professional after Hedra left, but I didn't stop wishing Amy her just desserts. The book was critical in that it let me see what a long-term burden I was taking on in exchange for the dark, momentary pleasure of righteous anger. First, I was able to nudge Hedra and Jared out of my brain, and am now at a point where I could be normally happy for Amy if she overachieved on her goals and was promoted. That to me is a victory. Carrying the burden of hatred numbed me to joy. After I quietly forgave Amy, the news of Kaya and Lindsay's promo hit and I felt like I'd won the lottery. It made me so happy. I was goofy with it. I'm going to share one last thing. The reason Jared gave for resigning. He announced that he'd been offered a position that he knew would be his life's work. And even though our big tech asked him to please stay, he had to carpe diem. According to LinkedIn, he went to sit on the board of an also-ran delivery app available in just a handful of cities. The gap is so painful, most people in my org who remember Jared take it for granted he was fired. My brother-in-law called me the one who got away in his speech, and my husband is very hurt and it is my all fault. Posted on July 4, 2023. I don't know what to do. I think I have done serious damage to my marriage before it even began. I met my husband through his brother Chris, who I had a crush on in college. I never was clingy or never acted on my feelings, and I never really allowed myself to get too close to him because I knew that my feelings weren't reciprocated. Chris knew, however, I had a crush on him, or at least he felt it. He would always say that I was girlfriend material and how he wouldn't want to lead me on. He wanted to have fun before that. He would say this to others, but even once to me. On two occasions he would text me that he had feelings for me, only to apologize later and retract his words. But on Christmas 4 years ago he texted me that he was in love with me and wanted to take me out on a date. He said he was done playing around and wanted a relationship. He was invited to a night party that my then roommate and I had. He told me he wanted to talk to me then. When he came to the party he had his brother with him. Chris spent the party going out of his way to ignore me, and later I saw him making out with my roommate and they spent the night in her room. I decided there and then that I will drop it. Enough is enough. Next morning he told me that he fucked up. I fucked up big time, yeah? And he apologized. During the party I got to know his brother, who was the opposite of Chris. He was shy and hated attention, and he was just the best, and soon after he asked me on a date. We are married now. Our wedding was last Wednesday. I want to make two things clear. I never went beyond a crush on Chris, and only after I fell for my husband that I understood what love is. He is everything to me and I love him more than anything. I never told anyone about my crush, and when I met my husband I didn't tell him either. Chris wasn't happy I was seeing his brother, and he's been cold towards me since. Even when it got serious between my husband and I. Chris held a speech on our rehearsal dinner and he basically outed everything and ended with how he regretted not asking me out sooner and how he will always regret it. It was very awkward afterwards and nobody talked, and on our wedding day my husband did everything to act normal and he made sure everything was as planned, but I could feel that he was hurt and angry. After the party he asked me if I loved Chris and if I dated him for that reason. I started crying because it's absolutely not true. We started dating and became friends, and I made sure it was him I wanted before committing, and I never loved anyone like I love my husband. I told him all this and more, and I apologized so much for not telling him everything. In the beginning I thought it was my own private matter and I didn't feel the need to discuss it with a then stranger to me. When our relationship evolved, I just never thought Chris was relevant and my crush seemed a silly thing. Now it's back to bite me in the ass. My husband is very sad and he barely talks to me. We're leaving for our honeymoon in 2 weeks. He barely speaks about it, the thing we both waited for with so much anticipation and longing. I don't know what to do. I can't turn back time, so I don't know what to do. Update on July 13, 2023. Hi again. Thank you all for the support and all the people who followed my page for an update. I have a small update. I was supposed to write it yesterday, but I was exhausted. Yesterday my husband and I were invited to my in-laws for a cookout. When we arrived, Chris saw us and tried to scrape her. Well, nobody expected us to show up and my husband wanted to decline, but I insisted we go. I caught Chris, however, and loudly said, "Oh, I'm happy you are here because I want to talk to you." I said that since the people in this cookout were all in the rehearsal dinner, I wanted them to listen too. Chris looked like he was about to cry, but my father-in-law was grabbing his arm when he tried to excuse himself. I told Chris that what he did was a shitty thing that didn't just hurt me but it hurt his brother even more, and that the only reason I didn't speak up was because I was in shock, but also I didn't want to ruin our day by arguing back and forth with an arrogant and selfish man who always hid behind alcohol to explain his bad behaviors like he's some tween. I told him that I never was the one that got away because he never had me. I never knew the real him and I liked his exterior like I was sure many people who didn't know him well did. But if it ever would have evolved to something more, I would have seen through his facade, and since I know myself very well, I would never have fallen for someone like him, so I was never the one that got away. I told him that the only good thing about him in my eyes, the only redeeming quality, is that he decided to bring his brother with him that night, and even if I was very angry with him now, I will always be thankful to him and I will always be grateful that I crossed paths with him because it led me to my husband. And for you not to even call to apologize to your brother for embarrassing him and hurting his feelings says a lot about how much you have planned to hurt him on his day. My husband was silent the whole time. The mood was a bit awkward for a minute after my outburst, but then people were normal and some apologized for what happened and we ended up having a good time. When we got home, my husband, who's been sleeping in the living room almost every night, hugged me and kissed me. The first time he kissed me since the I do, I felt my anger building up again and I had another outburst. I told him that we weren't okay and that he never has the right to shut me out and give me the silent treatment for so long ever again if he wanted to stay married to me. He said I know and that he regretted his coldness. We made love for the first time as a married couple. And second, third, and fourth. And then I fell asleep in his arms in our bed. After 2 outbursts on 2 brothers in one day, I felt content and I slept very well. This morning my husband woke me up with kisses and hugs and he apologized for hurting me and taking out his anger on me. He said the shock was too great for him and he was afraid that I didn't love him and just settled for him because Chris is the charmer and always had it easy to be loved by people. He thought something more happened and he didn't dare to ask me because he wasn't mentally prepared to hear that the love of his life maybe wasn't his. He looked his old cheerful self that I missed so much. I just wanted to cry but I didn't. We discussed therapy and we are planning to start looking for a therapist after our honeymoon, but for now I just want to snuggle him and feel his love. He has a lot of making up to me to do. I hope this counts as an update. Good night. Edit. Many asked about Chris's reaction. He just cried and mumbled that he had somewhere to go and left. No apology or anything. Wasn't expecting that either. Mother-in-law was angry with me but I was just so angry everything just came out. Edit 2. To all who are saying I'm avoiding questions about my husband, I already addressed everything in my first post. I will always regret not telling him and I will always be sorry for hurting him. My outburst on Chris wasn't the first time my husband heard my truth. I have been apologizing and begging since our wedding. He only talked to me after the cookout when he felt sorry for me. When I wrote about him making up to me, it was mostly a joke about depriving me of all affection and sex, but also because giving the silent treatment is really hurtful. He agrees what he did wasn't the greatest way to handle it. We will work on our way to communicate. We love each other and we are fine. Am I the asshole for insisting my pregnant sister switch bedrooms with me? Posted on May 9, 2023. Throwaway cause I don't want it connected to my main. My sister and I both mid-20s. I'm a few years older. Share a house together. It was our parents' house and we both inherited it after they died. We have equal share ownership of the house. The house has 4 bedrooms. One is the master room and has an in-suite and walk-in wardrobe. The others 3 just have built-in robes. When we both moved back in after deciding that neither of us wanted to sell, we agreed that she could have the master suite, but the 2 largest of the other bedrooms would both be mine. One as an actual bedroom and the other as a gaming room for me. The last and smallest bedroom is a guest room. Her boyfriend's been living here for a while and she recently told me that she's pregnant. I'm not particularly looking forward to sharing a house with a screaming baby, but it's her house too and she has every right to be here and raise her kid. Obviously, the baby will need a bedroom. And I was expecting that to be the guest room. It is the smallest bedroom in the house, but it's still the same size as a standard bedroom. But my sister wouldn't go for that. She's insisting I move my stuff out of my games room so that can be that baby's room. I told her that I'm not moving my stuff into the guest room because that wasn't our agreement, but then she informed me that actually, I won't be able to do that either, as we would still need a guest room, especially with the baby coming as her family will want to visit. So I said fine, you can have my games room if you move into my room and give me the master room. She started crying and said that as a mother, she's going to need her own space and she deserves the master bedroom. I asked what she expected me to do, and she said I should just suck it up and keep all my crap in my own room. We're at an impasse and I can't get her to come to a real agreement with me. She keeps calling me a huge bitch and says that I should let her have both the master bedroom and my gaming room because she needs them more. Her boyfriend says I should just deal with it, that because I don't want kids anyway, I should just suck it up. My girlfriend, who also spends a lot of time here, is on my side and says my sister is being a spoiled, entitled little brat. Am I the asshole? Edit. She can't buy me out. She doesn't have the money. We each got some money along with the house, but she wanted a fancy Range Rover, so most of hers went to that, and she can't get a loan because she's only working part-time at Macca's at the moment. I still have all of my money plus some of my own savings, so I will be having a discussion with her rebuying her out. The house is located in a nice expensive area, so what she gets from me for her half will be enough for her to buy an average 3-bedroom house in a cheaper area. Really don't want to sell if I can help it, as house has been in the family a long time. Update on May 15, 2023. I don't know how to do an update on the Am I the Asshole sub, so I guess I'll just post it straight to my page for now. Hi guys, so this kind blew TF up. Was definitely not expecting it to get as big as it did. It's ended up on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook and freaking Newsweek. My cousins saw it, my aunts, uncles saw it, my friends saw it, my girlfriend's family saw it, and even my sister saw it. I know a lot of people were wanting an update, so here you go. So I talked with her over the weekend. She actually did apologize for being such a brat, which surprised me. I guess when she saw it on TikTok, she came here and read through some of the comments and realized how unfair she was being. I made the offer to buy out her half, and I made sure to point out to her how nice it would be for her to be able to pick out a place for her family with her BF, and how special it would be to have somewhere that's just theirs. She's never really been fond of the style of the family home. She prefers more modern style architecture than the old-fashioned Victorian style that the house is, so I also pointed out that she could find something she really loved. I explained that I'd more than happy to help her with everything, from actually finding a place to the actual task of moving itself. Like I said, the house is worth quite a bit, so she'll be getting a lot of money for her half, and it will be enough to buy a house outright in a cheaper area, with some leftover. When I say cheaper area, I don't mean a bad area. She'll still be able to buy in a decent area, just not as nice as the current one. She said yes. She seems genuinely excited to start going house hunting. And I'm actually excited to go with her. We're gonna talk to a lawyer next week to start get things moving, as we both agree that the sooner this happens, the better. I know a lot of people were talking about her poor money skills, and to be fair, she's not the greatest with money. But she did have a better job before. Not an amazing job, but she was making decent money. But she decided to leave when she found out she was pregnant and pick up some shifts at Mac's for now. But she's not sure if she wants to go back to her old work after the kid is born, gets a bit older. Her boyfriend, y'all were right in that he doesn't pay rent, but he really is between jobs. ATM. He was going to uni to be a sports teacher while working at a sports store. He finished his degree recently and left his retail job, but is looking for a teaching job still. So happy ending, yay. Ending, yay.